down to nobility. Ollie danced through life with frivolity. Parties and balls, a life so grand. Little did she know what fate had planned. Ollie, Ollie, the wandering candlewick, chosen by Sybil in her destiny's down. Escaped from towers of paper to the open road, a reluctant cleric with powers bestowed. From luxury, thrust into robes, surrounded by tomes and dusty old globes. But Ollie's mind, sharp as a tack, mastered the legalese others did lack. Contracts and bylaws, she knew them all. Her litigious prowess made bureaucrats fall. In mazes of paper would she find a way to bend the rules and save the day. A holy symbol in a divine dream. Not all in the tower is as it may seem. A true the tower across the land. But Ollie sees more than meets the eye. All timelines at once, futures that fly. Past, present, future, all intertwined, sometimes leaving the present behind. But Ollie sees more than meets the eye. All timelines at once, futures that fly. Past, present, future, all intertwined, sometimes leaving the present behind. Library cat, shrouded in mystery, follows Ollie through every history. With glowing eyes and silent paws, it guards her path without pause. Ollie, Ollie, the wandering candlewick, chosen by Sybil in her destiny's down. Escaped from towers of paper to the open road, a reluctant cleric with powers bestowed. Cut from luxury, thrust into robes, surrounded by tomes and dusty old globes. But Ollie's mind, sharp as a tack, mastered the legalese others did lack.
Oh, hoist up the sails, let the winds take a clip. For Thaddeus Turnpike commands his ship. For road on the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. Behold, Thaddeus sailed the endless sea, with little Boo as wise as can be. Through tempest and tide, they roam far and wide. The Turnpike legacy, their unfading pride. From the mighty Turnpike line he hails, with a lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers fierce and grand, with the spell on his lips and the sword in his hand. Behold, Thaddeus, master of the spell, with little Boo through heaven and hell. They dance with the stars, they flirt with the dew. Their laughter echoes in the ocean's blue. An owl for his mate, little Boo's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Boo, his talons wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold, Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Boo in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt-laden air, the Turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the Turnpike, the legend, the tale, of Thaddeus and Boo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The sea's in their blood, magic in their heart. So sing of the Turnpike, the legend, the tale, of Thaddeus and Boo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys
In Salome's fields a halfling stood tall, sea gray eyes a fighter's call. With Fiona's love and Angus' smile, his world was bright for a little while. Oh, Harold Gray with list in hand, a promise made, a journey planned. Each task he'll mark, each dream fulfill. For those he's lost, his heart beats still. From Zakar streets to golden fields, their family loved the greatest shield. They dreamed of wonders near and far, penned on a list beneath the stars. Oh, Harold Gray with list in hand, a promise made, a journey planned. Each task he'll mark, each dream fulfill. For those he's lost, his heart beats still. Young Angus fell on distant shore, while Fiona's kiss would come no more. A drunken noble, a vengeful blade, left Harold's world in darkness laid. But from his grief a purpose born, to honor vows that he had sworn. The list unfolds a final wish, a blade resisted a gutted fish. Now Harold roams through joy and strife, to live for three in one short life. From mountains high to oceans deep, this solemn pledge he vowed to keep. With bowler hat and iron will, he faces each task with hard-won skill. For every deed he sees it through, he feels their love forever true. And when the final task is done, when every battle's lost and won, he'll close his eyes, his duty clear, knowing his loved ones drawing near. In afterlife they'll meet again, their love eternal, free from pain. The list complete, their dreams fulfilled, a promise kept, a future will. Oh, Harold Gray, your journey's long, but in your heart they're never gone. With every dream that you fulfill, Fiona and Angus are with you still.
Hello. Oh my god, we're back. Hello and welcome. Let me pull up an intro because I've prepared and I'm a professional. Welcome back to You Are Legion, the D&D game where you, the audience, can join in and be a part of the story as the voices inside the head of one of the party members, because in this game, you are Legion. My name is Coy. I'm going to be your game master today, and I'm joined by some faces you may recognize. Claire Hogan in our top left box, Michael Keane directly below her, and Sam Gilroy top right. And normally this is where I would introduce our special guest, who will be playing as the Warforged Legion, but if you watched last season, Legion was sent into the Arcane Forge, and all the diverse deities embedded in Legion's frame were released back into the ether. Indeed, where is Legion? Did the construct survive the release? But maybe we should back up a little more for our viewers who might be joining us for the first time, and as a reminder for our players. Legion? Gods? What's going on here? I invite you back to the continent of Ansalon. A land forever changed since the ending of the Great Celestial War, where sentient races of all kinds joined together in a great mortal coalition to finally put an end to the meddling gods, who could do nothing but sow woe and suffering amongst the living. That was over 300 years ago now, and if you are interested in how that war came to start, tune into the channel on Wednesdays for our prequel series, Behind the Veil, hosted by Eric Fournier. But enough cross-promotion. The Celestial War was like any other war, because wars never change. But even ones waged against eternal concepts and omnipotent forces end. The Celestial War ended in a great rending of the earth and shattering of the skies. The Legion construct, an arcano-mechanical automaton crafted using the combined magics of the mortal races, was created as a prison for the gods, made in the image of their own children. Embedded in the Legion construct were countless magical gems or eternity crystals, each containing a different god. Together, in an ingenious trick of gnomish engineering, the power leaking from each eternity crystal was harnessed to empower the warding runes containing the others. And so a delicate balance, an equilibrium, was achieved that could hypothetically last until the end of time, if that was even a thing anymore. It is unclear exactly what caused the cataclysm, but historians have agreed it marks the end of the Celestial War and the birth of the mundane age. But it was a violent and tumultuous birth. What is now known as the Shallow Sea was once a fertile and bountiful land, inhabited mainly by halflings. As the waters flooded their lands, the typically sedentary nature halflings were uprooted and thrown to the winds of fate. Some traveled further into the heart of the great kingdom of Salome. Others looked to higher grounds for safety, towards Kur. Harold, his ancestors came from there. Michael, why don't you tell us about the Greys and the Highland Halflings?
The Greys and the Highland Halflings are a people much diminished. A clan once numbering in the hundreds, the thousands even if one counted for cousins and second cousins with other names, was reduced to dozens, who sheltered under the mountains of Kur and plied their trade as farmers, seeking to eke a meager living from the barren soil surrounding the mountain. More than anything else, they want to not be noticed.
And for many generations, they succeeded in their objective, until a singular one made himself a little too large to be small and ignored. But we will get to Harold in a moment. North of the mountains of Kur, northeast of the borders of Solamnia. A free-minded folk congregated beyond the reaches of Solamnia, yet not so lawless as Kur. Thad, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Turnpikes?
The Turnpikes are the greatest of the families that are around Dragon's Graveyard, or ended up settling around Dragon's Graveyard. And before the Cataclysm, and even during the Cataclysm, they're actually river raiders from Salomia, bands of families and peoples that sort of intergenerationally sort of moved up and down the waterways that passed through the continent raiding, and eventually getting sick of it, the people around Dragon's Graveyard were pretty much like, we'll give you land if you settle here and use us as a home base rather than going. And during the military and post sort of war and post sort of clerical and the limiting of magic post the Cataclysm and the political machinations of Solamnia, eventually the Turnpikes were sort of recognized as nobles as a way of diplomatically engaging with some of the more wilder peoples that inhabit the Nordmar area.
Nordmar, yes. Cool. And turning towards the grand country or kingdom that is Solamnia itself, in its very heart, the great mundane experiment, a just and fair land bereft of the gods. Indeed, one of the easiest ways to tell you have left Solamnic territory is to see an old temple or shrine, because all of them were destroyed within its realm. And yet, within Solamnia rested the architectural and intellectual shrine of the Cleric's Tower, which lay within the respectful hands of the Montbanks for centuries. But, Arlie, why don't you tell us how they fell into the hands of the Candlewicks?
Wheeling and dealing. Yes, the Candlewicks, they were just a Kender family living like Kender do, and like how Koi and I decided, kind of in this more like mountainous foresty range. Just, I mean, I'm pointing on the map, but I could actually point on the map around here, and then somehow Arlie's ancestors made their way down, and in kind of like one of those I'll trade you something valuable for a magic bean kind of deals, as far as I can remember, unless you can unless I said something else, Koi. But otherwise, I just remember that they essentially traded their way into owning the land around the tower. And then as the land sort of stewards, now that it was their responsibility, they couldn't very well just sort of demand taxes of the people without engaging with this institution that had been about, it's like I don't know, there's some sort of churches are tax exempt problem going on with the Cleric's Tower. And so in order to justify owning that land, they at some point agreed that there would always be a Candlewake serving at the Cleric's Tower. And back when magic was a thing, that Candlewick didn't have to be a cleric, but they did have to. They were, a librarian or a monk or a nun or a I imagine that the Cleric's Tower does,
or a custodial agent.
Custodial, there we go. Bees and wine, the classic bees and wine and ink, whatever. So yeah, then they became real. Then the magic went away from the universe. The Cleric's Tower became completely bureaucratic, sort of like if you took the Ministry of Magic and just were like, it's just the ministry now, right?
Well, for a long time, gods were really helpful in sealing contracts. right? Because if you had a contract that was witnessed by a cleric, an emissary of a god, and they were able to imbue some witness a binding contract, then a god, whichever one it was able to enforce said contract. And so a lot of law was written, both public and private, to use these celestial binding terms. When the gods disappeared, those bureaucratic requirements didn't just go away. And so the clerics, instead of having actual magical celestial binding, just became lawyers. and yeah. And this
I
is the
picture that it's a
Candlewigs.
very
Yeah.
and it's a very unusual position for Kender to be in. But I like to imagine that that the lands around the Cleric's Tower are like Kender friendly, so that so that there's always, you can always go and find a roaming Kender village, like somewhere on the outskirts of the Candlewick land. Although they think it is very bizarre that
all
the
your
Candlewick-
neighbors are upset. All the neighbors are upset because the fields run fallow and there's not enough like agriculture and exploitation of the land, because the Kender just are like, let's go, let's have some fun, and like we'll we'll just live off the land as we always have. They just technically own it now, and thus the Candlewicks prospered. And so these are just a handful of stories from the countless lives and families across generations since the mortal races rid themselves of the gods. Things had changed. Things were different, and yet things went on. Until... Looking back, they should have known when Kur unified that something was wrong. But none could ignore the smoke when the Sylvanestry forest burned. When Nordmar fell, few in Salamnia noticed. Foreign affairs were becoming less pressing, while the tide of refugees and inflation seemed to never cease. And thus, at the edge of a kingdom, in a small village not even on most maps called Vogler, near a city called Kalaman, the death of an old hero brought together a small band of heroes. And if you want to know more about what happened there, that's season 1. You get to check that out. But we are in season 2. The party has just returned from a different world. They were in the Call of Clerthulu, in a world of horseless carriages, of steel and metal, of more mundane society than could even be imagined in the heart of Salamnia itself. A strange, banal, twisted, rusty world that felt almost as real, if not more real, than the one they left. But something was rotten in this world. Something had corrupted it, leaking between realms. The last thing our party saw was a great tree, just a small tip of a branch of the world tree known as Zivelin itself, that had been twisted by some dark magic. But before the party could understand what was going on, Thaddeus was able to access some magic, open a portal, and all of them rushed through and now find themselves in a small room they have all been in before. A little converted ballroom in a corner of an unused tower in Kalaman. And as the party looks around, you all see each other. Thaddeus, you see Arlie. Arlie, you see Aelric. Aelric, you see Harold. There's a goose honking in a bath in the other room. Squeak Noir is asleep on a pillow. The cat asleep next to him. Library cat. And little Bubo, of course. I assume there. He's a magical little Bubo, that owl. So he can kind of come and go a little more freely than some of our other friends. And as the party starts to collect themselves on this new cold stone, there's a whip crack. And out of seemingly nothingness, in the center of the room, appears a robed figure. And I will ask everyone to give me either a perception or arcana check. Arlie with a 25, of course. Arlie, you see, even within this like swirling magical apparition that is Wizard, you see that they appear standing on a teleportation circle that has been crafted rather haphazardly into the stone. With a 25, I can say that you notice that this is a sigil that has not just been written once, but has been written again and again on top of itself. Someone has been maintaining this sigil for the very purpose that they are using now, which is to arrive instantly under some sort of a condition. Standing in the center of this circle is Wyhan. She looks at all of you. Right. Well, I think we do have some time. All right, come here, big one. And she walks over to Aelric, the large dragonborn. He was large in the other world as a human, but back in his own form, full wings, like only the Dragonborn of lore had, that can lift him into the sky, blue scales that go from light to dark, like almost all the shades of the sea itself. He stands there looming over this robed mage. She turns to him and utters in perfect Draconic. Who can speak Draconic here? Arlie can speak. Arlie, you understand, while all the others hear Wyhan burst into a series of guttural and high consonant sounds, she speaks to Aelric very briefly. You're not going to like this, but believe me, it is essential. And she begins casting a spell, using verbal and somatic components, pulling arcane focus out of her pocket. Aelric looks at her, turns to Arlie, says, I'm not sure what you want, and he disappears. If anyone wants to roll me an insight check, they can, as Wyhan turns to the rest of you.
Gonna shout in Draconic, and Arlie's Draconic. What is't thou hast what done?
I immediately, upon seeing this, am like, you can't non-consensually teleport somebody.
Oh, darling, consent has nothing to do with it. It's about power. I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually. Believe me, there are much more important things he has to be doing right now, and it seems like you finally decided to come back from wherever it was you were, and just in time. Wyhan looks about the small rooms you have. Really, is this where they put you? My God, this is terrible. Speaking of consent, do you mind if I spruce this place up a little bit?
BM, have we seen Wyhan since Keen's time adventure day?
You have not.
How much time was there between our time adventure day and being sucked into Call of Cthulhu?
One day.
One day.
A singular day.
There was one day.
How many, just to make sure I have my full reference here, how many days did we end up staying inside Call of Cthulhu? Did you guys sleep at all when I wasn't playing? Was there ever a rest that you all had?
No.
How much did I drink?
It wasn't even a full 24 hours. It was like the one evening. It took like, I think it ended in the very early morning.
Yeah.
Does okay, final questions for the situation that
Of
we're in.
course.
Do I not only remember what just happened to me in Call of Cthulhu, but do I also carry with me the entire lifetime that Thad lived in Call of Cthulhu?
Give me a wisdom check. Anyone who's trying to access that life that they were so recently inhabiting.
What check? Insight?
Straight wisdom.
What? So straight wisdom. Fuck. 8.
I'm trying
With
to
an
roll.
8, Thad, you turn to your memory like a dream that has woken you from a deep sleep. It is something so immediate. You were just there, and every element that you focus on, you remember glass, part of some sort of a carriage, but as soon as you start to go, it slips. Every small piece of detail is disconnected, and as soon as you try to associate it with a larger relationship, you find yourself lost, and the memory begins to fade. Arlie.
I shrug off
Yeah.
the sensation that my sanity should be fraying at such a thing, but instead I just kind of like, I'm like, oh, my head. Why, and what of the Lord Commander? Is he still properly contained? Has my brother been found within the organization? There's going to be no reprisals upon him, is there?
Amazing. Harold, were you rolling luck there for rolling a second time? I can't hear Michael. Oh.
Yeah, I'm rolling luck. I'm using
Okay.
luck to roll a second time.
Using luck. So with a 19, Harold, you... Sorry?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. With a 19, you remember, obviously, the first thing, the center of your memories almost always is Fiona. And you think back, and the first thing you remember was sitting at a breakfast table, and Fiona was there. And from there, the whole day starts to unfurl before you. And as it unfurls, you almost seem to be living it again and remembering her there. She was with you. She was alive. And then you remember getting the phone call that she was hit and she was in hospital. And then something with this magic and these undead creatures and this dying tree that was splintering itself into this world, and you had to leave. But the one thing you do remember before you left was that she was alive.
It was
Arlie.
a what?
She was alive.
Sorry, it was a what? It was alive. Yeah.
Fiona was alive when you left. She was in hospital. They were watching her, but she was alive. Arlie, with a 25. With a 25, Arlie, some things escape you. Other things remain painfully contained and forever in front of you. It must almost be a curse to be the type of person who can't forget things, like who can just read a book and just remember which word was on which part of the page. And sometimes, Arlie, knowledge burns itself into you in a similar way. You could probably, if you spent a moment, give the box score of the game that you read on a newspaper offhand before you were captured as a lawyer, a prosecutor, I think it was. Unfortunately, for most of it, you were incapacitated because they caught you. Do you remember how you got caught?
Yeah, so what Arlie remembers is going to sleep in this world and then waking up as a lawyer in her, in her middle class accommodations in the house that she shared with one other tenant, surrounded by cultists chanting and exclaiming about how they had unlocked the key to Zivelin to feed the mother of 1,000 goats, or whatever her Cthulhu name is. And that the more that they could pull the world tree through, the more they could feed the great mother. And it was in that moment of waking up as this lawyer and merging all these things, they realized that there were more. There was more. There wasn't just Arlie. There were more.
Mm-hmm.
So
And Arlie with
but then she passed out.
Yeah, and you woke up just in time to be freed from this slab that you had been tied down to, and you were carried by, I believe it was it Harold, I think, who carried you back up and took you through the portal. So as you were kind of waking up and coming to consciousness, you do remember that. Arlie, with a nat 20, while you're thinking this, you find yourself fiddling with your symbol of Zivelin. Do you keep it on... Where do you keep it? Is it on a chain around your neck? Or is it like a...
It sure is. It sure is a chain. Yeah.
A little piece of wood that's been carved into containing that intricate tree of life that almost looks like an octopus or a branching lightning, depending on how you look, has sat comfortably around your neck since ever you were first touched by Zivelin. And you instinctually will turn to it, not just when casting magic, but to find solace and grounding. And as you touch it now, you feel it crumble. And as you look to it, it has been desiccated, dried, almost like put it through a kiln. And as you touch it, it crumbles under your touch. And the more you touch it, the more it falls away, until it's just an empty chain around your neck.
What games dost Wyhan play?
Wyhan is still walking around, kind of like trying to avoid dirty things in the way that only upper class people can act. Says, she actually let me roll a quick little. She looks to you and says, "Oh, darling, I'm afraid that's between you and your god. All right, I can't live with this." She stands into the middle of the circle and starts a arcane ritual. As you watch what she's doing, anyone can roll an arcana check if they want to see what's going on. She starts moving her hands. Thad, you see this is not a combat magic, but this is a profound, slower magic that has a longer, more permanent effect.
Effect on what?
As she starts moving, you see it's not that the furthest wall moves further away, but there is now more ground between you and it. And space itself seems to stretch and expand within this room. And if any of you understood physics, we might have to roll a sanity check. But this is a magical realm, and there are no sanity checks in magic. And there's no crying in baseball. And over a few minutes, the room continues to expand and grow, and hallways appear, and different things. This entire space is transformed into a massive space. And as the last stone in the ground settles, you all find yourself in a small, comfortable sort of living room with wooden floors and a piano and a small half wall separating you from what looks like an office space and a kind of arcanum magical workshop. And Waihan sits herself down on one of the seats and says, "All right, this is much better. Now, what was it you wanted to say?"
Why, Han?
Yes, Mr. Gray.
For someone who is so direct,
Hmm.
you have a phenomenal talent for burying the lead. Why are you here?
I was here for your friend. He was needed in Salamnia.
Where in Salamnia was he needed?
Oh, the Great Council. The Great Council of
Why?
the Coalition, you see, it's been called back. Yes. And, well, anyone can roll me a history check if they want to, about what they can remember.
As the only known dragonkin, the council is bound to invite him.
Yes, he has every right. There is, by design, one seat for Dragonborn. It has been empty for quite a long time, but they cannot deny one who is eligible, and it is a voting position.
I take it halflings still haven't been invited.
Oh, I mean, I suppose not.
Mm.
I believe they were part of the general coalition seating that Salamnia had arranged. Juniper, on a nat 1, the Great Council of the Coalition was last called during the war. It hasn't been called since the Cataclysm. It was like in World War II, there was like the Allies, which was this like alliance of different states working together to fight a war. The Great Coalition was this like massive alliance between all these different entities, including different tribes of Kur, including the families of Nordmar, including the Dragonborn, including Salamnia. It hasn't been called to session since the gods were disappeared. So you don't really remember much about it. Thad, with a 25 in history, do you have any questions that you would like to ask that you can remember? That you would like to ask me, the DM, about the Great Council?
What? So was how much of the last thing that you said was true?
The Great Council had not officially been called since the end of the war. It had been called once, and that was 20 years after the Coalition, in deciding to pull together a team of adventurers to find the Lost Legion construct. One of those team were Waihan herself.
Huh. Okay. And do I understand what broader powers does this council have? Or is it only like brought together to make these super badass strike teams?
It is a war council, so in many ways, the fact that the council is called represents a war footing.
So we're going to war against the gods again, essentially. Is that
or at least it's under discussion, right? There needs to be a vote to be able to like come fully back and activate, but it only is brought together under like existential crises. Yeah.
Well, then I respond as Waihan, being that you were the last council, I assure you that you know that sending him, or like who hates politics more than any of us, by himself, with no council to meeting between the great powers who seem to be on a war footing against the gods? Are you restarting the cataclysm, Wyhan? Is that what's
Really
happening?
bad idea. I agree. That's spot on with this. It's really, I don't. Why? Why would you make? Why, Han?
I'm not sure what it was you were doing in the past few days while you've been gone, but must I remind you that it was you lot that released the gods?
Few
was-
days.
Right. So we're more than willing to take accountability for that, but putting the accountability on our least human noid.
Oh, no, darling. No. This has nothing to do with accountability. This has to do with politics. You see, you've done something, and now those in power are reacting to it. And, well,
So let those in power also be part of the reaction.
Why did you not
Why would you
send
take the soldier?
why would you take us to here rather than taking us to there?
Literally have a turnpike in the room.
no, he's needed here, actually. No,
Literally have the wandering cleric in the room.
yes, and you have an appointment in a few minutes with the Lord Commander of Kalaman,
Well, thank you for letting
actually.
me know. I love having my agenda delivered this way.
Yes, once you're out of the wilds, it is, we are rather all tied to our obligations. To speak to you, Mr. Grey, clearly, as you most seem to demand, Aelric is someone who can be placed in a position without any instruction and slow things down, as it were. Things are moving a bit too fast, and what we don't need is people losing their heads and rushing off to start policies they aren't quite sure they even know how to implement. Aelric will be an unexpected member and vote. His vote will be quite valuable to the different sides that are trying to arrange themselves. He will be very helpful in making sure that nothing happens too fast.
That seems
Why
Seems
Han?
like a cruel thing to do.
Yes.
Why has the council been called? From my understanding, it must have an agenda.
Yes, well, there was quite a charismatic speech during the Parliament of Salamnia by a fairly senior member, calling to reactivate the legions, the iron legions that were used to fight those many centuries ago. That call was voted for, and the council has been called again. Old alliances called upon. Mages from all the towers representing and standing within different kingdoms and throne rooms across the continent have sent emissaries and ambassadors to the heart of Salamnia to engage in this council. Of course, why any of this happened was because of what you have all done.
Yes, and I understand that, Wyhan.
It's a rather interesting question to ask what you already know then.
You know what?
Really, it's a
Wyhan?
rather interesting question to ask, but is there a war footing immediately? Do they have plans to seal the gods back in?
With
Are the
any luck,
legions being
Aelric
mustered
will
for
help to
defense?
stall that movement. Yes, there are growing camps, of course, within any movement. There are those who wish to immediately begin war again. There are those who wish to take this opportunity to dismantle the coalition and live again with the gods, apologize even. And of course, there are many minor factions within those two extremes which will be most likely sucked up and forced to join one side or the other. Aelric represents a slowing energy within that momentum.
And with which of these factions do you find yourself, Wyhan?
Roll insight.
18.
Amazing. With an 18, you see her. You see her smile, and Harold, there's a way that reading people where I think when we watch like CSI and all these like cop shows where it's like magical capacity to look at someone and tell how they're lying, that's so dramatized. What a lot of it really comes down to is being able to read someone's face and piece together with enough of knowing who they are and knowing what's going on in general, to be able to kind of associate, oh, they're tense, therefore that must mean, right? Harold, when you ask what side are you on, you see a smile of satisfaction, a little glint of a secret that she's holding on to, and you see in Wyhan a survivor like yourself. But unlike you see that she has freed herself of any obligation towards decorum or morality. Whatever can get her the best chance of survival in the most comfortable form. And she is a puppet master moving things to try to achieve that end. She sees you looking at her and says, "For many of us, there's little difference of whether the gods are here or not. What bothers me is stability and risk."
When you sealed the gods, did you know what would happen to the afterlife?
Know what would happen. The very act of sealing the gods was a very interesting one. The fact that the moon was still there after we captured Luna, and the fact that the sun still rose the day after we captured the solar, I might say had faith that most things would remain.
Did any part of you stop to think that maybe it was because you didn't finish the whole thing? Do you ever stop to think that maybe the sun kept going and there was still air to breathe because your little cabal of mages at the time decided that they were going to pack all the gods away except one? And then you are going to send us with no information out into the wilderness to do whatever we think is going to be best, which we did.
Give me a persuasion check, Thad.
What?
Give me a persuasion check.
Persuasion. Nice.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at it, though. Ooh, no, a 14.
The 14... You see that Wyhan changes her rhythm in a way that she doesn't often. She's usually quite calm. And when you describe one god not being contained, you see a flick of her eyes. She says, "What do you mean they weren't all captured?"
What do you mean? What do I mean? You must have known. You sent us out there.
Wyhan.
Sivelin. Oh my god. Yes, of course. Huh. Of course, those gnomes. Right. No, to answer your question, Thaddeus, no, I didn't think so. And I was just as fooled as you had been. I had thought they were all contained, but I clearly stand corrected. Speaking
On
of
that
that,
note,
Mhm.
man, over the past 3 days, we were captured by some kind of entity that pulled us to another existence. We were ourselves, but living in another time and in other bodies. This entity appeared to us through the avatar of a corrupted tree of Zivlin before we defeated it and were sent back here shortly before you came and remodeled the place. So, forgive our earlier brusqueness. It was a
Right, you
rather
are
odd time for you to arrive.
you are coming from a different space and time. I see. Yes, no, I had a alarm spell set up here when you failed to arrive that first day, and I've been waiting for your return. Luckily, it seems like we were able to make the vote, so Aelric should do what he does best. In terms of this other space, I'm afraid, for better or worse, you are now known by the gods. They have whatever they want to do, they probably will look to you to thank or whatever. Thad, what does your spell book look like?
It's what you would assume a barbarian's spell book to be like. It is it's pretty much a binder. But his mother had given him what looks like a proper spell book, but most of his spells are either like pages glued onto other pages, or bookmarks in, and just like complete pages that have been given over to like ink spills and screwing it up. Yeah, it's a ratty looking. Modern Thad has not had time to, post-death Thad hasn't really had the wherewithal yet to, it's like a thing he was gonna get to.
Amazing. As you're speaking in this new space, Wyhan seems to have found this tattered spell book in that, just in the same open space in that arcane area with the crystal spheres and terminals. She picks it up and leafs through it and says, "Really, Thad, this is a student's book. You should get something better and more resilient. But we can talk about that later." She waves a hand over the book and it disappears.
That was my spell book, Wyham. Where did it go?
Yes, you can roll me a history check if you'd like, Thad.
15.
Thad, with a 15, it's like one of those things where you ask a question, then you remember the question just before the person gives it to you. Before Wyhan can even open her mouth to give a scathing, opinionated, and disdainful response, you remember that the last thing you did here was to accuse Becklin of improper use of magic. This was a rare use of magical judicial system, as it were, and one of the things involved in the act of accusation towards improper use of magic is that the towers have defined that the only fair thing to do is to take away the accuser's spellbook until a time as a result comes, because otherwise it can be just too unfair.
Well, I know I've had I felt like I've been sleeping for the past 3 days. I do not remember much of this other world.
That's too bad. Well, in honor of your friend who is not here, You can tell him that this was due to his passion towards your development, as it were. He convinced me that as your mentor, for lack of a better word, I do have some sort of obligation. She pulls from her hip. You see under her robe, she has a holster. Pulls from that holster what looks almost like a single-handed crossbow, but smaller, and gives it to you.
I take it.
You can give me an Arcana check or maybe a history check as well. With a 23.
Yeah.
Thad, you grew up in a place that did not care about the rules in the same way Salome did. So the gray market, shall we say, had a lot of trade in Nordmar. Working at the gray, one of the things that you exported as a family and controlled was Dragon's Graveyard, which was an underground or underwater area that divers would have to go to actually recover actual bones of dragons that had magical properties that could either be carved or ground down or for all these magical uses. And therefore, the trade that came in to trade for these things was often quite valuable. Something that you've seen, but you've never seen a working version of it, was a personal defense weapon used in the Celestial War. It's a arcane pistol.
Ooh.
These were standard issue back during the Celestial War, extremely powerful. It seems, from the look of it, that this is one that Wyhan has held on to since the war herself. You call this a loner until you get your spellbook back, Thaddeus. You can thank it.
I will take very good care of this.
I expect so.
Does it look anything like an actual gun from our world?
Yeah, it looks like a kind of a 1950s, like, space gun.
Okay. When I handle it, there's just like a brief flash of like taking a swig of a beer and fingering the barrel of a sawed off that I have, and it's none of that even makes sense. But I kind of look at the gun and I
get a little Born Identity moment of like opening and like I don't know how I just did that.
My handling of it is better than, because not many things are actually shaped much that way, except for like a hand crossbow. But that even
different. This is metal. This has like arcane elements to it. There's crystals embedded. Yeah, different vibe for sure. But sturdy and old. Incredible. Right, yes, as I did say, Ali, there is a meeting outstanding with the new Lord of Kalaman. Of course, she's been waiting for you to appear, so, it's hard for anyone to demand something of the wandering cleric, but I assured her that I would let you know as soon as you did return. Having told you that, I believe my obligations here are done. By the way, there is quite a lot of mail you should get to. And she moves to the door. On the inside of the door that she didn't use, there's a pile of mail. Just by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, but...
You want to know what I think, Wyhan?
What is that?
I don't mind because I'm going to tell you.
Oh, wonderful. I expected you would.
I see this very powerful wizard who could snap her finger and obliterate the people around her in the room. I see her choosing a group of gnats to guard the most important magical object in all of creation and to bring it to a place for an uncertain purpose. Now, this powerful wizard also happens to be a master manipulator, which I mean as a compliment, and quite politically astute. And I can't imagine that she would ever take a risk so great if she weren't already confident in what the outcome of her choice would be.
Young Master Grey, your families spent their lives in the fields, and so it is understandable that you might not fully comprehend. But I believe Thaddeus has a more intuitive grasp, both as a sailor and a wielder of magic. There are powers in this world that are much greater than any of us. Sailors know the tides cannot be controlled. No matter how skilled a sailor, how powerful a crew, how incredibly wonderful the ship itself, the sea is untamable. More so for those who wield the arcane magics. It might appear like we have quite a definite control of everything in front of us, but the energies themselves are beyond any of our capacity to control. The most we can do is harness them, use them to move ourselves and those we care for through a safe route, avoiding shoals, low tides, and even monsters.
Then I suppose we're either your greatest failure or your greatest success, Wyatt.
You have the backing of one or more, indeed maybe all, of the gods. I would be foolish to try to oppose you. So, whenever you're ready, meeting, the Lord of Kalaman would like to see you. It is formal. It will be a public event. I believe some of you know what that means. And, read your mail. She opens the door, pushing a large pile of letters aside, and exits in a mundane fashion, clicking down the stone hallway. Down a hall and out of behind a door, you hear a "meow, meow" of a goose.
Sorry, so she wants me to go through the mail before meeting with the ruler of Kalaman, or she wants me to meet with the ruler and deal with the mail later? It's unclear. Arlie starts going and reading the mail.
Hell yeah. Yeah. Anyone else want to go through... Arlie, you find mail for you, named for you. You find stuff for Thad. You find stuff for...
Make piles.
Like, most of it is Arlie. So, Arlie, you find lots, and you have lots of family members, Arlie, like a very large extended family. You also are a member of nobility, so there's a lot of people who just, like, want to check up and see how you're doing. You were also out of reach for a long time. Before even you discovered the Legion construct, you were a wandering cleric. You were just going around the world. Letters had been sent years ago, had just been going and then arriving in a place you were, only to be told you weren't there anymore, and then be sent to another place and again and again and again. You have tons of these letters from family members that could eventually go through. You realize this is probably 80% of all the letters that you're looking at. There is a formal request under the seal of the Cleric's Tower. There is a formal letter under the seal of the Salamnic Parliament. And there are lots of letters, more recent, only mostly from Kalaman itself, but all directed to Kalaman. They haven't gone through this series of like different places. From people you don't know. Lots of different hands. And you realize the public learning about the rumors of the wandering cleric and then the rumors of the return of the gods have started reaching out to the only connection they know exists in the world.
It's like fan mail, but also like work.
Yeah, Arlie, you also find letters named for Thad. There is a sealed document under the Turnpike letterhead. You also find 4 letters bound in twine and sealed in wax, labeled to Harold, and a single letter under the seal of the Coalition for Aelric.
She's gonna make little piles, like maybe she's gonna put all of Thad's letters in a helmet and all of Aelric's, the 2 letters for Aelric, under some sort of heavy, I don't know, like some, like a belt buckle that's come loose, just random errant sort of paperweights that are
just to keep it from blowing away.
Yeah. So everyone's going to get like a little pile. Obviously her stuff, there's so many that she has to like make multiple piles for herself. But she is going to sort of annoyingly be like, well, I hadn't had to go through the mail before. We'll see. And she's just going to do her organizing before she's going to obviously open the Solamnic Night one and the other official looking one you mentioned.
Cool. So you want to open the Solamnic Night and the Cleric's Tower.
After taking my sweet time. Yeah.
Before you read those letters out, once I see that the piles are firmly made, I do collect over. Thad seems to be about as scared of the mail as he is of horses. Like he doesn't want it, but as he collects the pile that he made, he looks at the letter for Arlek and he goes, I think he'd be fine with you opening it. Considering he's not here. I wish I'd given him a kiss before I left, he says as he like holds the mail up, and it can take you as long as you want to realize that he means that this is bad, like he's viewing this as bad luck. Like only that, like it's not a, again, that is completely oblivious.
Yes, we all wish we'd given. Yes, that's a thing that that's a collective thought we all had, isn't it? Yes, it is, of course.
Amazing.
So she blushes as she's like staring at this letter, like.
Cool. So you open the letter with the Solamnic seal in it. It is an official. Actually, give me this would be a legal check, would be like a history check. This is to kind of, for parsing the language, right? It's all legal language. This is a formal request, a formal summons by the Solamnic Parliament to speak with the Wandering Cleric and their retinue. What you see within this summons with your 16 history check, this is written very formally in a way to be binding. It is worded as a passive request, a formal like, hey, it would be lovely to see you. But it is written and invoking the right words that while the Wandering Cleric of Solamnia cannot be controlled by any temporal governing body, they are obligated to, be available. And so this is a request that you and your retinue, which are protected, all of your retinue that you can define, are protected like legally as like ambassadors, like kind of like an ambassador has that type of like diplomatic immunity. The Wandering Cleric and their retinue has diplomatic immunity everywhere they go within the coalition, all the allied lands. But this is the Solamnic Parliament requesting a formal summons for you and your retinue. In the other letter, with the Cleric's Tower, it is a much less politely written but no less insisting request that you return for a check-in. It's been a while.
It's interesting. So, lads, there's one of these things that we actually do need to do. We have to go here. There will be consequences if we don't. But we can decide when we're going to go. But it should be within the next 3 business days, which we can also decide. We can take our. There's some interpretation with the business, but we should really go.
Anyone else
As
want to
long
open any
as-
letters?
You are the retinue. Unless you
Oh,
do not
yeah.
want to be part of my retinue anymore, in which case, actually, maybe only I have to go. No, if I fire all of you, that doesn't make sense.
I look up the letter that I'm reading, and I just look at it. What do you mean we?
Exactly. It has been requested that myself and my retinue. So perhaps if you are simply my friends, and I disassociate professionally. Which I'm
So
not
I
really
will
sure how
tell
to
you
do.
with your 16, Arlie. Actually, you roll with advantage on this stuff because you're a knowledge cleric. So you can give me just to see if you get higher. Because you roll with advantage on this. 17. There you go. What I can tell you, the thing about the retinue, the key is that they have the same diplomatic protection that you have. Without these people being in your retinue, they would suddenly be subject to any laws that they are otherwise subject to.
This is interesting. I don't think that firing you or hiring you, but I think maintaining a sort of status quo of colleague sort of status keeps us in this fantastic gray area of potential. But in order to maintain our potential of not being above the law, but not being brushed beneath it either, we perhaps should consider this luncheon with the Solemnic Knights.
Islamic Parliament,
Or
yeah.
Islamic Order. Parliament,
the
sorry.
Parliament, yeah. The Parliament as is, which is different than the Coalition. The Coalition is like the United Nations. The Islamic Parliament is like, it's just Solemnia. Thad, you open your page. Sorry, you had a question.
I had a legal question for our legal eagle over there. Do our obligations to you does my obligation to you supersede my obligation to the tower?
That's there. It's again interesting because,
can give me another
Arlie's
check,
gonna think
yeah,
about how
you
the clerics tower and like a different, like these are both powerful factions within society.
This would be another check with advantage.
Whoops. Let's try that again. Okay.
With an 18. Arlie, you understand, like you don't fully understand the intricate arcane laws of the towers. That's like its own thing. They also, because they control magic through information, they love to control information. A lot of the details of how they operate don't really come out of the tower. All to say that there is evidence in the history books that mages have been members of of retinues of the Wandering Cleric in the past.
There is precedence set. So really that I think the answer is that we should not press for an answer because really we want a circumstantial sort of advantage given whichever loyalty serves you best in the moment as it arises. So better not to ask that question and get an answer in writing. Better to leave it open-ended for now.
Plausible ambiguity. Yes, exactly. Amazing. Thad, the letter that you received from the Turnpikes is a series of legal documents that have to do with the transfer of power of Kalaman to your sister.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically all finished. These are copies. They don't even need your signature. It's just like, this is for your records.
At the end, because I've already read that one by the time this conversation is happening, I'm just like, but there's no legal. What I'm saying is, I can't hold the city of Kalaman on your behalf as the wandering cleric. No?
Oh, what I can tell you is that one of the big things about the coalition is that magic users are not allowed to own land. So
Well, that even goes to the wandering cleric as well. Damn
yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right. Never mind. What does my other letter say?
The other letter was a request for an affidavit for Becklin's case, and I would ask for a wisdom saving throw as you open this letter.
A saving throw?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Wait, where's this? Ugh. 19.
Amazing. As you open the letter, you're trained. You've been to school, even though everything makes no sense and everything is weird and you have no idea what's going on. As you open the letter, the training kicks in as you feel the arcane spell begin to weave with the opening of the letter, and it reaches into your mind to try to pull out an affidavit of what happened to get a record of your side of this case with Becklin, and instinctively you're able to resist the spell. The spell from the letter fails, and at the bottom it says, please report to, and it gives a title to submit your affidavit for this case.
Arlie?
This is from this letter's from the tower. Like, this is specifically from the tower.
Have you ever written an affidavit before?
Yes, plenty.
Yes, Arlie, yes.
I'm actually writing one right now to say that, yes, I have indeed received the invitation to the luncheon with the Salamnic bigwigs. Whatever.
Arlie, are you trying to use language that's like polite or like a little bit snide and like
Trying
dismissive?
to be snide, yeah.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
She's
The luncheon with the bigwigs. Yeah, perfect.
Would you like to help me write an affidavit?
I would love to. I actually have some letterhead right here from the official cleric's tower.
No, it needs to. Well, I guess since I'm with the clerics. Well, anyway, that we can figure that out after. Anyway,
So actually, if you look at your if you look at the space you're in, I don't know if any of you have like a just looked around this map that I've our home base
scroll around it.
At the bottom there in the south, there are the bedrooms. There's a library over on the east. On the north, there is the northeast corner is where Little Bubo is. That is a space for birds. I forget what the word is. A roost, I think it's. But next to it is the armory. There is a rookery. Is that it?
Google that right now.
There is a kind of chapel, a non-denominational chapel. There is a place for some alcohol. There is a large sunroom with plants growing on the west side there. A kitchen, a pantry, a small dining room with some tables. There is a small room full of just like cots for like guests, basically, and then a little bathroom where the goose is paddling. In the center there, you have this kind of living room space, an arcane space, a study there's a lot of free loose paper there, and on the other side of the hall there is a smithery, like an active place that could be used to smith weapons or armor or tools, and a generic storeroom there as well. So there is, you see in this area, you have basically everything you would need to do any type of long-term work in any of your specialties. So research, creation, arcane development, like trying to copy out a page, trying to create a scroll from your spellbook, for example, Thad, or doing things like that. All of this could be done in this new grand apartments that have been crafted for you with Wyhand's magic. All to say, there is paper available that doesn't have the cleric's heading, the cleric's tower heading, if you so choose.
I grab the paper. I bring it over. I turn over to Harold and I do say, Harold, if you're planning on leaving or doing anything and you see a servant, can you please have them send a couple meat pies to the room?
Just the look. Amazing. Harold, in your hands, you have a collection of letters that have been bound in twine and sealed with a wax seal. Give me a history check, Harold, when looking at this seal.
You're also muted.
Dirty 20. Harold, you recognize the seal of the coalition itself. In unsealing the wax, undoing the twine, you see the 4 letters are assigned to one to Arlie, one to Ilric, one to Thaddeus, one to yourself. On opening the one to yourself, I assume you do, you see, in very formal writing, with a lot of hereto and wherefores, long and short of it, it is a summons to the Supreme High Court of Solamnia to stand trial for the alleged crime of high treason against the coalition of mortal races.
We're being charged with treason.
You're muted as well, Sam.
What? No, what? Since when?
Yeah, look, it says here.
Sam, you open the letter, you see the same thing. Thad sees the same thing. A formal summons to stand trial for the alleged crime of high treason against the coalition of mortal races. Same with you, Arlie.
Like this one. This is my least favorite. I think I might put it at the bottom of the pile. Pretend I haven't seen it.
Were halflings ever part of the coalition? Because I think we talked about them not having been represented.
I think they're not represented in the way that other races had been. So, the coalition itself was like this coalition of various mortal races. For example, like the towers are one entity in the coalition, the Mage's Towers. The Cleric's Tower is one entity. The Dragonborn represent a unified entity. The tribes of Kur, which are for the most part Orcish, have a representative that is usually Orcish. The halflings were kind of within the state of Solamnia, because Solamnia was its own kind of political entity, and so as a species, they don't have separate representation at the coalition.
I find a letterhead.
Mm-hmm.
And I write a response. Is a returning address available?
This looks like it's a magical letter. This is one of those, like, please reply on the enclosed letter that you get from some official institutions. The enclosed letter is a magical parchment that will be able to transmit whatever's written down back to the sender.
Okay. I will write.
Please.
To whomsoever it may concern. As a non-represented species of the coalition, whose people have not been bound by the nation of Solamnia for centuries, I would like to understand under which jurisdiction I am even capable of being an agent of treason. Yours sincerely, Harold.
As you finish your signature, you see the letters almost dance and burn off the page, and it is left blank again. And the message has been sent.
Seeing that, I grab my pen. I want to make the magical thing happen. So I grab mine as well. And I write, "To whom it may concern, as a member of the Mages Council, I do not see how I can be traitorous to 2 moons or 3 moons." I cross out 2 and put 3. 3 moons from which I draw magical power. All further correspondence should be sent to Mage Tower lawyers. And then I try to recall like the other thing that we're supposed to say, like the CC, like, and then I finish the formal Mage Tower lawyering thing, and then I put down my pen and I wait for it to happen.
Nice. As you sign that final signature of your name, the ink seems to dance and almost burn off the page. And with your arcane eyes, you're able to see that the page is left mundane. Whatever spell was enchanting that page was a one-time thing. That spell has been cast, and you're left with a simple piece of parchment.
Habeas Nopus. Damn right, Victor Var.
Habeas Nopus. Amazing. This is great.
I think I know what Arlie's going to write that.
That's a beautiful red coming across on camera. It looks real shiny.
Oh, thank you.
Hell yeah. Cross-promotional stuff. Join us on Keen
You
Paints.
said there were 4 letters addressed to Harold.
It was the package. It was a single package with 4 letters. It happened to be. For
Harold
you.
just takes Arlie's letter and walks over to what she's doing. Arlie, treason. Just kind of chucks it in her file.
When you finish writing it, it goes poof.
Amazing, Arlie. What are you doing?
Arlie is drafting. Arlie's draft says something to the effect of, "Thank you very much for bringing this to the attention of the Wandering Cleric. I think it is more than right that the Wandering Cleric should be informed and kept up to date in the events
An out-of-office response.
of gods and other deities. The Wandering Cleric would be more than happy to assist on the tribunal and for like essentially she's trying to say that she'd be more than happy to be one of the judges. More than happy to be one of the
Offer yourself as a
team.
position of justice.
Yeah, that takes under account the evaluation of the expectations of the rules that are beholden to the Council of Species of the land.
Give me a history check with advantage as you write this letter.
Yeah, like she's just fully. Thank you for the opportunity. I would be more than happy to help you with your problem.
Love it. Happy to become a judge in this case for you. That's amazing. 16. So, Arlie, you know very clearly that technically what you're saying is a smokescreen or a distraction. In no courts that you have ever read about can a accused person just step into the position of judge of that same case. But with a 16, your wording is so convoluted and invokes so many archaic, like, case law that pretty much there's only a handful of clerics who were your teachers back at the tower who would be able to, with definitive accuracy, pull apart this screen you've created and allow someone to respond with certainty, basically saying you're full of shit. But it would take work.
She's just gonna mutter to herself, "This should have bought us about 7 business days, which is really like 2 weeks."
Actually, yeah, no, that's a good. So, in terms of how much time you're spending, the real difference comes down to whether they're going to be using magic or not. So, if this was before the gods were, released again. It was normal time for most of your life. It would take at least a week for the horses to go back and forth between Salamnia and the tower, for like information to be figured out, and then for like the horses to run back. If we're starting to use teleportation magic, which is like really powerful and not normally used, it could be done much faster, but it could still take a couple of days for the tower experts receiving this letter to like go through and get all of the case law and like be able to get like a solid response. So somewhere between 3 and 10 days at least.
It's not even that I really am concerned about going to trial so much as it is that I just think we should go in prepared.
I have 2 trials. Which trial do you mean?
Oh, well, we'll see. We'll see if I get to. We'll see if I get to. I'm not sure if I'll be entering to serve as the accused or on the other. I will
tell you, Arlie, that the letter for high treason is different than that is the coalition wanting to try you for high treason. Like United Nations, like war crimes. Mm-hmm. The invitation summons to the Salamnic Parliament is a different thing. It's a different political entity, and it is not for a bad thing. Like, you look over it having read that first, be like, oh, wait, is this actually like a secret, like, velvet glove request for me to come? No, they're fully separate. So one, you're being invited as like a powerful ambassador of the gods. The other one, you are being requested to come in as a suspect, as someone who might have committed high treason. So they are separate, which gives you, knowing politics, that gives you some leeway, because if you're there on one reason, like if you're there as the wandering cleric coming in for a summons, you're technically still under diplomatic immunity.
Okay.
And we've also been summoned to an event later tonight, right?
Today, yeah. Yeah. Arlie, you see under the letter of, under the seal of Kalaman itself, the city of Kalaman. Let me see what I can find. You see a simple letter. It would look like just a handwritten, normal, like, letter from one of these fans or whatever. Like, it's less formal even than like from your own family and other people in nobility. But for the wax seal of Kalaman that seals it. When you open it up, you see that it says, Thad's sister is finally arriving to Kalaman. She has requested the presence of the wandering cleric and her retinue. P.S. In case there is any lack of clarity, this includes her lady Juniper Candlewick and her bodyguard Aelric of Tiamat, the wizard Thaddeus of the Red Robes, Bubo de Cur, and the halfling Grey.
Harold, we do have some more to be later.
I would appreciate that, Harold. Also, while we are discussing things later, if I must call witnesses to the trial in the tower, to the malfeasance use of magic by an unlicensed person, I hope, Harold, that as somebody who was detained within a magical object that was highly illegal, I could count on your testimony.
I didn't see anything. Just kidding. Yeah, of course. I got you.
Thank you. And I remind you, please do not use any magic or be tempted to use any magic around any other magic users that are not Yhen.
I will not use any magic around any magic users that are not Yhen. Relax. It's just some light treason. What's the worst that can happen?
Oh, no. Oh, I'm not worried about
Harley
that.
winces.
They're gonna go through the tower lawyers, and again, I feel like my just brush legal case of how can I be treasonous to the moons is, I already draw my power. I make a little sparkles. I cast prestidigitation, and I make little magic-y things happen.
Give me an intelligence check as you do that.
Intelligence check. Just
Yeah.
flat intelligence?
Just a flat intelligence check.
23.
With a 23, you're like, do little sparkle, and then the magical effect stops you. And you realize this is the first time you've cast magic in this world since you've returned. And it makes you look inwards towards your own magical history because, wait a minute, no, right, you're a wizard here. And as you go back, you're like, okay, yeah, no, there's the prestidigitation, there's the... you remember your cantrips, but you cannot remember any spells. You
My
have
spell
no,
book.
you have no spells prepared.
No, what?
You have 0 spells prepared.
Oh, no, 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 no. I run to the library to see if there's a spell book somewhere in the library. Just any spell.
As that runs to the library, there's a gentle rat-tat-tat on the door, and you hear a voice muffled from the other side. Hello? Is anyone there? I'm here on behalf of the Lord Captain. You've been requested. I hope someone's here. I don't want to be just talking to an empty door. Hello?
Harold opens the door.
You see a little page.
I'm reading.
Just a young human, dark skin, maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 years old. Lived like he has a comfortable serf life of working in the tower. Oh, you are here. Okay. Wyhan said that you were back, but I don't know whether to trust her about anything these days. Yes. Well, the Lord Captain is prepared for you, and now that your presence has been confirmed in the castle, we would request that you honor said summons.
Hey, I imagine this is a formal event.
Oh yes.
Well, I simply cannot be in the Lord Commander's presence in this garb. I must be afforded time to prepare and to perform my ablutions.
Of course, yes. Of course, yes.
Must perform my ablutions.
Of course, yes. I will let the Lord Captain know immediately. May I humbly request how long such ablutions might take?
I close the door in his face. How long do we want before we gotta deal with this bullshit?
Amazing.
Don't change. I don't think I'm going to find a spell book. I shout from the library as I'm just tearing books
Nice.
off.
We'll be there in 2 hours.
Amazing. And the next 2 hours passes.
Not allowed to-
Thad, you're throwing books everywhere. The library cat is just perched on top of one of the bookshelves, watching you almost like for a moment you actually had to stop and see if you could remember and detect magic because the face of the library cat just so resembled the energy that Wyhan gives you anytime she's around. But it's just an opinionated cat. You spend the next 2 hours looking for any spells that you can find. I will say, give me a investigation check. This is going to be a DC 25.
Jesus. Fuck, 18.
18.
That's-
You find allusions to magics, but not a full spell that you'd be able to use to memorize. Anything else anyone does in these couple of hours before the grand or this formal meeting with the Lord Captain Turnpike?
Harold gets nicely dressed.
Mhm.
And taunts Thad about how he doesn't need a spellbook to cast magic.
Amazing. You just find a seat in the library and smoke a pipe, making fun of him. Arlie, what do you do during those 2 hours? And then we'll take a break, and when we come back, we will move on to the next scene.
like if she's got to represent herself as the wandering cleric, she actually like can't dress up. She's to like dress down in her like like she's got the two sides to her robe, and the wandering cleric's one is the humble like friar with a rope side, even though the inside, I think ever since Versailles has been like this ornate like fleur-de-lis like embroidery
beautiful
thing.
lining. There's like gorgeous silk lining. Love it.
Yeah, and so like she just like has to turn down the cuffs. Like she just has to like not like if she's the wandering cleric, she has to show up like representing the people.
Amazing. And Thad, do you do anything to prepare once time gets short?
I mean, I do. I make sure that I prestidigitate my robes to get them clean. I do take my rapier, however, and I do have sort of a custom robe that does allow me better movement, and I do. I place my sheath in what is like a very formal rather than combat position, but I do have my rapier on me now, and I do tuck the gun. Is there any kind of? Did I get any holster for the gun?
Yeah, you did. You did get a holster. Yeah, you found a holster was left in your like magical arcane little room section.
I'm gonna assume that it's a shoulder strap, and
Whichever way you want. Yeah.
In my robe, I am going to shoulder strap my gun in there, but then I tighten my robe. And actually, the gun oddly fits into, this makes sense, into how like a spellbook holster would actually, like it tucks in there easily.
Yeah, there's a few holsters that's like, there's like spellbook holsters, there's wand holsters that mages use. Like it's like almost like a converted, something that used to be one or the other. It's an old worn leather holster that seems to
now
fit.
that everybody knows, once I get my spell book back, I'm gonna be a Boondock Saints double strapped spell book and my gun and
pistol.
either.
Love it. Cool. And with that, we're going to pass these 2 hours on our break. We are at 9:15. I'm going to say I'd love to be playing just before we hit 9:30. So I'm going to ask the cast back in about 10-15 minutes before then. And we will see all of you guys in a second.
Peace.
Born to nobility, Ollie danced through life with frivolity. Parties and balls, a life so grand. Little did she know what fate had planned. Ollie, the wandering candlewick, chosen by Sybil in her destiny's down. Escaped from towers of paper to the open road, a reluctant cleric with powers bestowed. From luxury, thrust into robes, surrounded by tomes and dusty old globes. But Ollie's mind, sharp as a tack, mastered the legalese others did lack. Contracts and bylaws, she knew them all. Her litigious prowess made bureaucrats fall. In mazes of paper would she find a way to bend the rules and save the day. A holy symbol in a divine dream. Not all in the tower is as it may seem. A true the tower across the land. But Ollie sees more than meets the eye. All timelines at once, futures that fly. Past, present, future, all intertwined. Sometimes leaving the present behind. But Ollie sees more than meets the eye. All timelines at once, futures that fly. Past, present, future, all intertwined. Sometimes leaving the present behind. Library cat, shrouded in mystery, follows Ollie through every history. With glowing eyes and silent paws, it guards her path without pause. Ollie, the wandering candlewick, chosen by Sybil in her destiny's down. Escaped from towers of paper to the open road, a reluctant cleric with powers bestowed. Cut from luxury, thrust into robes, surrounded by tomes and dusty old globes. But Ollie's mind, legally others did lack.
Oh, hoist up the sails, let the winds take a grip, for Thaddeus Turnpike commands his ship. For road on the waves, a sailor so bold, with magical powers and a heart of gold. He-ho, Thaddeus sailed the endless sea, with little Bubo as wise as can be. Through tempest and tide, they roam far and wide, the Turnpike legacy their unfading pride. From the mighty Turnpike line he hails, with the lineage of captains braving the gales. A scion of seafarers fierce and grand, with the smell on his lips and the sword in his hand. Behold Thaddeus, master of the smell, with little Bubo through heaven and hell. They dance with the stars, they flirt with the dew, their laughter echoes in the ocean's blue. And now for his mate, little Bubo's his name. Together they soar in fortune and fame. With little Bubo, his talents wrapped in light, they summon the winds and the stars to their fight. A curse of great power, a gift or a bane, Thaddeus wields it with little to fame. A rogue with a charm, a sailor with flair, he faces each curse with nary a care. Behold Thaddeus, the sea's arcane knight, with little Bubo in the pale moonlight. Through whispers of magic and the salt-laden air, the Turnpike adventure none can compare. So sing of the Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart. Turnpike, the legend, the tale of Thaddeus and Bubo setting sail. For where the map ends, their journeys just start. The seas in their blood, magic in their heart.
In Salome's fields a halfling stood tall, sea grey eyes, a fighter's call. With Fiona's love and Angus' smile, his world was bright for a little while. Oh, Harold Grey with list in hand, a promise made, a journey planned. Each task he'll mark, each dream fulfill. For those he's lost, his heart beats still. From Zakar streets to golden fields, their family loved the greatest shield. They dreamed of wonders near and far, penned on a list beneath the stars. Oh, Harold Grey with list in hand, a promise made, a journey planned. Each task he'll mark, each dream fulfill. For those he's lost, his heart beats still. Young Angus fell on distant shore, while Fiona's kiss would come no more. A drunken noble, a vengeful blade, left Harold's world in darkness laid. But from his grief a purpose born, to honor vows that he had sworn. The list unfolds a final wish, a blade resisted a gutted fish. Now Harold roams through joy and strife, to live for three in one short life. From mountains high to oceans deep, This solemn pledge he vowed to keep. With boulder hat and iron will, he faces each task with hard-won skill. For every deed he sees it through. He feels their love forever true. And when the final task is done, when every battle's lost and won, he'll close his eyes, his duty clear, knowing his loved ones drawing near. In afterlife they'll meet again, their love eternal, free from pain. The list complete, their dreams fulfilled, a promise kept, a future will. Oh, Harold Gray, your journey's long, but in your heart they're never gone. With every dream that you fulfill, Fiona and Angus are with you still.
Hello and welcome back. Welcome back from that awesome little break. We are coming back to the party, having spent a couple of hours getting themselves ready, dressing up or dressing down, as the case may be, searching fruitlessly for spells in this new library created by Wyhan. And finally, when you are ready, you all head out. I will say that as soon as you exit the door, you realize that the space is larger inside than out. Wyhan has not changed the actual scale of the room from the outside. She has just made it larger when entering. Magic being magic and everything. All of you travel through the halls led by this little servant that the page who's had the door slammed shut politely in his face by Harold. He was still there 2 hours later when you opened it. And it seems to be his job to escort you to the Lord Captain. You find yourselves in a large palatial ballroom. The page Vicavar didn't move for 2 hours. Yeah, it's a living. You find yourself in the large ballroom that you remember from that time loop. It was that same space in the time loop, that large kind of palatial space. It has changed slightly in terms of who is in it. Namely, at the very north side of the room, on the throne, for lack of a better word, sits a powerful figure. White fur adorns her shoulders, covering a dark black series of undergarments, leather and shining black. Thad notice it as dragon scale armor. This is a black dragon scale armor with a kind of hide covering of a thick white seal fur that your sister, Lord now, Captain always, Salome Turnpike, wears. As you enter this large room, you immediately see that this is a formal event. And that is not because there is a lot of nobility standing about, but near Salome, there are a couple guards, the east and west and at the south. At the base of the stairs that lead up to her throne, there are a flock of floating pages. These are parchments that float in air and have with them all quills as part of each one of them. For any of you, Arlie, you've seen this before. Thad, you recognize this. Harold, I'll leave it up to you as whether this is something you've ever seen before yourself or heard of. It's not really unknown, but this is a press corps. Each one of these pages represents a microphone, effectively, in our world. It is capturing whatever will be spoken in these rooms. It is really ideal to use magic because it means the journalist doesn't have to leave wherever they live, and it's also much safer for having to capture news that potentially could be dangerous to said journalist. The worst that happens is you lose your magical parchment. There is at least 24 of these pages floating, each one representing a different interested party on the other end. If you would like, you can try to identify any of the parties that might be present in these floating letters. And if you'd like to, I would ask for either an arcane or history check. Um, 22, 16. Arlie, you see all of the official... Thad and Arlie, you see all of the official... Kalaman News Network. You see all of the kind of like the main state news agencies. You also see some of like the minor houses that have more like technically within Solamnia or within like a kind of border region, but kind of its own city-state. You'll see some of those. You do see one that is actually from, I'm just pulling up the name here, the Qualinesti Woods. That is the Western Elven Homewood, as opposed to the Eastern Sylvanestry where Bubo's from, that has been conquered. So there is Elven, the elves are listening. Thad, you recognize one from that looks like from one of the families of Nordmar. So whatever the whether this is someone who is in the current armada with that is being led by your father or not, there are people at sea also taking interest. In general, it seems like most free polarities in Ansalon have sent at least one representative to be present for this.
These only transcribe speech, right? They have no passive ways to. Okay, so the second that we are like formally put into place, I want to do a bow that is so polite it has to be cheeky. Like whatever, like, you know, I want to overly formalize. I am throwing my sister shade by and once we hit, I just gently my lord.
Amazing. As soon as Thad opens his mouth and says "my lord," there's a as all the quills start to like transcribe. And if it wasn't apparent before now, it is extremely obvious. These are here to create records of this meeting. I'm going to ask Thad you give me a perception check as well. And other people can give it to me. Thad will have it with advantage.
I'm going to ask. Do that in perception?
Yes. 19. 7. Thad, you're busy getting some digs in at your sister. This is just like old school.
I am this close to like kneeling. I am towing the line where it is not so formal that I'm being overtly insulting, but you know, my sister knows.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're focused on this is
also not the way that you would ever greet or we would accept. This is way too maybe toady or courtier for the Turnpike court.
Amazing. Yes, and she looks at you with, you can see just like the history of the two of you, of pushing each other off of walls and off of boats at full sail so that you have to swim home. Like all of this, the history of just like the constant ongoing tally between the two siblings.
I've taken this twice.
As she looks at you, and her only response is, "Wizard." "Great. Wandering cleric, Juniper Arley Candlewick III, I thank you for coming at my humble summons." As she opens this formal statement, Harold, you see this. She has no left arm. She's hiding it quite well under her like cloaks, like the heavy furs, the way she's seated right. Sorry, she has no right arm. My bad. Left hand forward, like the way that she's presenting herself is hiding it. But you've seen amputees before. Like You're constantly looking for, what weapon is someone holding underneath that cloak. Not only is she not holding one, she has no hand to hold. This is a one-armed woman. Salome finishes the boilerplate opening. That is the welcoming of Arlie. And she turns to Thad. Says, and welcome, Wizard of the Red Robes, Thaddeus Turnpike. If there was only something I could offer you, I would. But of course, I believe you are beyond my reach in many respects.
Honor is beyond no reach, my lord.
Of course. And Master Candlewick, I believe I'd hoped to see the renowned Aelric of Tiamat and Bubo de Cur. Where are your remainder of your retinue? Wyhan leans forward. You see she actually has been standing behind and to the side of the throne. She is there in a position of advisor in her stance. Leans down and whispers something, which the quills do not pick up. She kind of looks up over her shoulder at Wyhan. Of course. I see. Well, I hope to be able to see Aelric whenever they are available. Harold, I'm going to ask you for an insight check or a history. She doesn't welcome you. Oh, hell yeah, with a 19? Amazing. So, Harold, halfling luck, baby. What at first comes across as this, waiting for your turn to be recognized, you realize with a 19 is actually her choosing to keep you out of this meeting formally. By not invoking your name, there is no record of you being here. Thaddeus, I believe we have some final formalities to get past. Is there anything you would like to offer me as representative of your family?
I don't believe that a hug would be appropriate in such a formal.
Give me an insight check.
Insight. Oh, natural 20.
A natural 20.
A 21.
A natural 20. You see this once again, just the wave of emotions of the first reaction is okay, fuck you, we had our game. Now I'm being serious and you're still fucking around? And then there's a second wave of realizing you actually don't know what I'm talking about. And then almost having to hold herself from putting her head in her hands and kind of pulls her breath back and just counts quietly to 10 on without saying anything. And with a nat 20, in that count to 10, you realize you still have the paperwork done, which is Solamnic paperwork under the cleric's tower. the turnpikes operate slightly differently, and you have yet to formally give the city to her in your tradition.
I humbly apologize. It seems that my untimely death and resurrection has made me slightly forgetful. I hereby do recognize, as the conqueror of the city of Kalaman, all hereby control, power, and restitution in the hands of my sister. May the turnpikes reign in peace, honor, and dignity.
As you begin the formal statements, you see like the release in her tension as she's like, thank fucking God. And she stands and drops the cloak onto the throne behind her. And that's when you first see that she only has a left arm. Last time you saw her, she certainly had two. She sees you see it, and there's a moment of... we're honoring this nat 20 here that you just rolled. It's going to kind of carry. There's a moment of the two of you looking. She sees you notice it. She sees you notice it. And then she almost dares you of not looking at all of these papers, capturing everything that's said. Are you really going to bring this up right now? The moment holds. She sees you maintain stillness. I thank you, my brother, and I will do what I can to keep the seas at bay and a safe harbor for all of ours. And the formal handing off is complete. She then sits back down, leaving the robe down, and says, now, as we are in a rather unusual circumstance, I believe I am fully within my right to announce some of these decisions that I have made, given my new authority granted by my wonderfully esteemed brother. First of which, I would like to announce my Seedzaveen, which is a traditional title in Nordmar, translating to a advisor or sorcerer. I'd like to announce my Seedzaveen for Kalaman as Wyhan of the Black Robes. Do you accept this position, Wyhan? She formally nods and says, yes, of course, thank you, I am honored. Wonderful. The letters are like scribbling away.
Sorry.
Yes. Can we provide you any refreshments, brother dearest?
Yeah, no, I'm choked up with emotion.
It's understandable. Secondly, I would like to invoke legal control over the region of Kalaman under our law, the law of the sea. I will make clear that we no longer recognize the clerical order nor those laws of Salome as binding. All contracts written and maintained under our borders are hereby nullified and void. She pauses for that to settle.
Sorry,
yeah.
How did you do that? You just sort of said it and then sort of a make it so moment. How are you?
Would you like? Do you want to roll something, or is this you're just straight up asking?
Yeah, she's straight up asking, but I'll happily roll.
Yeah.
To understand.
You can roll history
But I mean,
if
she
you'd
is
like.
asking the person who's talking.
But yeah, you'll roll with advantage. Yeah, with an 18. With an 18, you hear the truth in her response. And she says, yes, noble Candlewick. Now that these lands are formally held by the Turnpikes, we have never bent the knee to Salomnia. And I am asserting our very real and historical, we have a lot of historic legal precedent over the fact that we rule based on our own laws.
You sort of, the cleric's tower is kind of like a public service. It's sort of like saying we don't want roads or libraries. It's confusing to
yes.
sort
of course, no, I apologize. Most
you
honorable
are rejecting
and divine cleric, we do not reject the power of the gods. We merely do not recognize the legal contract signed under the monitoring of Salamnic law as ratified by the cleric's tower.
So, is this like common perception that the cleric's tower upholds Salamnic law? Is that like everyone's, that's kind of a ubiquitous understanding of like,
Is the legal
law of the land? Like, I sort of for some reason thought something else.
No, you're right. The cleric's tower is like, the clerics were used historically for all laws because they were like there as like, literally they were just representatives of the gods. They were witnesses to bind contracts. Once the gods disappeared, Salamnia was like a major political entity that kept the tower and the order and like the bureaucracy of it, but not every like Kur, which is just like a tribal land where laws are usually defined through like combat or just straight up like anarchy in many ways. While technically the cleric's tower has like capacity to oversee any contract on the continent of Ansalon, without the gods enforcing them, it's like the laws only have as much power as the enforcement behind them. And Salamnia is willing to enforce laws that are ratified by the cleric's tower. Other political entities aren't as interested, like, and the Turnpikes in Nordmar for hundreds of years have like kind of accepted them for the most part because it's like better than causing a fuss. If it's like, you promised us to give you, this many gold pieces for this much fish under the cleric's thing. And they're like, I mean, we'll do it anyways, but like not because you told us to. But they haven't formally like opposed the law in a long time.
We're just renegotiating. She's renegotiating. Your organization has contracted with an organization that's no longer in power. Bureaucratically, you need to submit new forms importing to the change in local laws and customs in order to restore your jurisdictional power here within.
Now, I will tell you with an 18 as well, Claire, Arlie. With an 18, there is this thing that you don't fully understand about the Turnpike specifically. Nordmar is like, they draw a lot of their legitimacy from old houses that the Turnpikes actually are living in. Like Dragon's Graveyard is not a castle that was built by the Turnpikes. It's a castle that they took and then decided was their familiar home. Those old like land claims were much more tied in with the Cleric's Tower and the laws of the land.
We married into the family. We didn't just
the Turnpikes. The Turnpikes at the end of the day traditionally are kind of pirates, and so their traditional law goes into areas that you do not understand, and they will make wild claims and ignore things historically. They've done it less since they've had land.
Understand.
There
but
you
as the wandering cleric, it's like this really, it's like it's I think that I think that's why Arlie and Thad can get along at all, because they both have that sort of winging it kind of thing, and also other reasons, but anyway, so Arlie's just gonna take this in and just really diplomatically just be like, As the representative of the Cleric's Tower, I am taking note that you will no longer be utilizing, respecting, or negotiating, and whatever word she's got. You will no longer be in. I don't know the word. Claire doesn't know the word.
And on the contrary, Master Cleric, I would actually quite delight in your capacity to oversee some contracts we might sign over the next few days to ratify some things that are most important we maintain in Kalaman. I have no intention of sundering the honorable contracts made. I only assert that we are not under the legal behest of Salamnia.
And if that's so, I can give you my hourly fee, because if I am not in service as the Wandering Cleric, then I am an independent contractor with a phenomenal amount of knowledge who I understand your organization might benefit from as you move forward in your unmerger from the country, from the land itself.
Ooh, okay. There is a pause as she looks at you. The letters catch up, and there's like a hovering over the page. Unmerger, you can see in her eyes, has hooked her. And she does not like that word. She says, the Turnpikes would never leave or think of breaking the conditions of the coalition. However, I must clarify that Nordmar, nor any of the houses within, were never part of the Salamnic state. She smiles. Lovely. I believe that leaves us with only one last thing to do. Wyhan, is this? She looks to Wyhan, who nods. Very good. Yes. As we are now operating under Turnpike law, I believe there is a conflict between two of these subjects right now within our walls. One, Thaddeus Turnpike, and Becklin Uthviharan. Becklin has asked for a traditional resolution of this conflict, and having spoken with my advisor, Wyhan has informed me that this does not invalidate any of the constitution of the coalition. Thaddeus, for the accusation, in response to the accusation of improper use of magic, you have been formally challenged to a duel.
Under what conditions?
The ancient ones. Give me a history check with advantage, because it's your family.
$23.
Okay, Thad, with a 23. The traditional challenge of within the Turnpike law is this: the wronged can challenge the accuser to a duel. The accuser has the right to choose a champion, which then allows the accused to possibly sign their own champion in response. These duels operate where both parties will choose two universal rules for said duel, one positive, one negative. A positive one can be something like no armor, or sorry, like we are fighting in armor, and a negative one can be something like we are fighting in no armor. Whether these laws are appropriate or not is decided by the Lord present, in this case, your sister Salome, and all duels are to the death.
I have no spells. Keen, you're muted.
Harold kind of pulls Thaddeus's cloak a little bit, gives it a little tug.
Yes.
Harold, give me an insight check with advantage. Or sorry, Thad. My bad. Sorry, Thad. Thad, give me an insight check at advantage to see whether you know why Harold's keeping quiet.
No. 4.
With advantage, you have advantage.
High advantage.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still not going to be hot, but yeah, 6.
Okay, yeah, Harold's just being really weird and quiet.
Harold goes like this. And I look at this. I can make a stealth roll if you want. If you're gonna make me.
You know,
roll
you can
for
like
this.
Yhad's done it. Like you can whisper in a way that won't be picked up.
I'll whisper. Hasn't acknowledged me, so on the record, I am not at this event. I don't know why your sister is playing this game, but for now, I'm okay to go along with it. If you need a second, I would be more than happy to perform that function for you. But please do not acknowledge my presence.
I accept the challenge.
Good. And you hear ka-chunk at the bottom of the long hall, and in walks a fully armored Becklin Uthviharan, being escorted by 2 guards wearing Turnpike livery. She walks up to the large circular dais, which is a full flight of steps below the throne, which is where you're all standing right now. She's brought up to the top of the stairs on this large circular dais that you're all standing on, and glares at you, Thad. Salome says, "Wonderful. Well, if there's nothing else stopping us, we can begin, I believe."
Who makes the first conditional?
That's usually done by the flip of a coin.
And does the accused wish to fight me themselves?
So you would know from your history check, like the accused like can only challenge the accuser.
They can't put a second. They can't put a second in.
Okay, so it's a champion.
Yeah.
If you, for example, like the accused Becklin can challenge you. If you choose a champion, then she can choose a champion in response.
Okay. Yeah. No. Let's do it. Let's roll. I'm sorry. I'm probably gonna get no magic as a rule on her side of the field. So I'm sorry, but I feel like I have to take this. I can't throw in a second.
Amazing. She walks. Your sister Salome walks down the stairs, pulls from one of her many pockets out a old coin. The coin has a dragon head, and dragon tails on it. As she presents it to both of you to make sure that it's fair, she says, "Heads is for positive, tails is for negative. I expect both of you to prepare one of each. As the accuser, Becklin will have heads. Sorry, as the accuser, Thaddeus will have heads. Becklin, the accused, will have tails. Whichever we land on is the first person who gets to assign their rule."
As a player, I just want to. As a player, before we flip this, what is are rules negative or positive in the sense of like, are we establishing from a baseline it's whatever you want to bring on the table until it's barred?
You did a 23 history check, right? Yeah. Okay, so like you totally, like, this is the type of thing that you're like, yeah, when I was like 13, I got really into like ancient duels. I remember all the shit, you know, like it's like this is something Thaddeus has like studied. The nature of these rules are weirdly vague, and they are very like a huge part of the duel. They can make a duel that seems really unfair, totally unfair in the other direction because of what you can establish. The rules can be like whoever the lord, which would be Salome, decides whether it's a legitimate rule or not. So it can be very broad. For example, some rules have been like, we are doing it in a location. And so one of the positives is like, we're doing it in a set location, or we are not doing it in a set location. They've also been done where it's like, we're not doing it during the day. So part of it is also how you word the rules. But once you make a rule, for example, no, like only swords, let's say, you can't make a rule that like restricts a segment of swords, right? So parts of making a rule is also you're like, there's this like chess game that happens beforehand where you're establishing what's in bounds and what isn't. And if you say something that de facto has something in its bounds, you're preventing the other person from choosing how to have any control over that factor. As Salome flips the coin into the air, all eyes go up. The on the parchment pauses as they wait for a result. We're going to end for today. And we'll come back next week at the beginning of this great duel between Thaddeus and the wronged Beklenuth Viharan. Thank you, everyone. This was a great return for Season 2. I wanted to make sure we're feeling good. We're kind of still getting comfortable. Once again, my name was Coy. We have Claire, Sam, Michael, Claire Hogan, Sam Gilroy, Michael Keane. Next week, we will come back with a member of our party who wasn't here this week. He was off doing politics in Solamnia. So we'll catch up and see what Aelric is doing next week. But thank you so much for watching. We're back, baby. And we'll be seeing everyone next Bat week, next Bat channel, next Twitch, everything. You know what's up. All right, guys. I need to work on my outro. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.